The multi-billion-dollar bottled water industry is built on a fundamental promise: purity. Consumers turn to this product, believing they're making a choice that's safer, cleaner, and healthier than tap water. I'll take a bottled water to work with me. The bottled water is just for convenience, so when I go out or I go to the gym, I like to drink this one because I think this one is safe. However, it might be time to take a closer look at that bottle of water. This year, numerous bottled water brands in Canada are coming under fire for their questionable quality and safety. In this video, we're exposing 15 of the absolute worst bottled water brands that you should avoid at all costs. Plus, stick around until the end, where we'll share some helpful tips on how to choose safer bottled water for you and your family. Now, let's dive right into the first brand on our list, one that has been at the center of Canada's biggest water controversy. 1. Nestlé Pure Life, now Ice River Springs. Nestlé Pure Life, once Canada's dominant bottled water brand, stands as a stark example of corporate exploitation and questionable quality. For nearly 2 decades, Canadian communities fought against Nestlé's massive water extraction operations, particularly in Hope, British Columbia, and Aberfoyle, Ontario. The company was extracting 639 million litres annually from the Aberfoyle Spring alone, roughly 256 Olympic swimming pools worth of water. Testing by CBC Marketplace in 2018 revealed that Nestlé Pure Life contained microplastics at trace levels. The company admitted to finding microplastic contamination, but claimed the amounts were so minute they couldn't determine if it came from their bottling operations or cross-contamination. This admission destroyed the pure image the brand had carefully cultivated. Even more troubling, Nestlé Pure Life is essentially just filtered tap water, a fact that wasn't always clearly disclosed. Only after public pressure did the company become transparent about sourcing from treated public water supplies. The environmental and community impact was severe. While Nestlé profited enormously, nearby communities, including indigenous populations, struggled with water access issues. Wellington Water Watchers, a local group formed in 2007, spent 17 years fighting the company's operations. In 2022, Nestlé finally sold the Pure Life business to Ice River Springs, a Canadian company, but the damage to trust was already done. This serves as a powerful warning that corporate water bottling can hide serious quality and ethical problems. 2. Dasani, Coca-Cola. Dasani, Coca-Cola's ubiquitous bottled water available across Canada, consistently ranks among the worst brands due to its notoriously poor taste and history of misleading marketing. When it comes to flavor, Dasani is widely criticized online and has become a running joke for tasting artificial or chemically. In blind taste tests, it frequently lands at the bottom of the list. The distinctive taste is a result of Coca-Cola adding a proprietary blend of minerals, including magnesium sulfate, potassium chloride, and salt, after purifying the water. While intended to create a clean, crisp taste, for many Canadian consumers, it just tastes unnatural. The brand's sourcing has also been a major point of contention. Dasani isn't natural spring water. It's simply municipal tap water put through a reverse osmosis filtration system. Coca-Cola faced significant backlash for not being transparent about this initially, leading many consumers to believe they were buying a premium product. After public pressure, the company now clarifies on the label that Dasani is sourced from public water sources. Furthermore, the brand is dogged by environmental concerns. A 2024 study revealed that a typical liter of bottled water can contain hundreds of thousands of nanoplastics, which are small enough to enter the bloodstream and organs. As a product of the Coca-Cola Company, consistently named the world's #1 plastic polluter, the sheer volume of Dasani bottles produced contributes massively to global plastic waste. In Canada, where tap water quality is generally excellent, Dasani is widely criticized for being overpriced, unpleasant-tasting tap water that contributes to the planet's plastic problem. 3. Aquafina, PepsiCo. Much like its rival Dasani, PepsiCo's Aquafina, available throughout Canada, is another brand that makes the list due to its source and taste. Aquafina's water is simply sourced from public tap water, which is then purified and bottled, a process that allows it to be marketed as pure. Following pressure from consumer advocacy groups, PepsiCo was forced to amend its labels to include the letters PWS for public water source, so Canadian consumers would know it wasn't spring water. This change came after years of using imagery of snow-capped mountains in its advertising, which many critics argued was intentionally misleading. In terms of taste, Aquafina is often described as being flat, bland, or developing a plastic-like taste if left sitting too long. Many Canadians describe it as being no different than filtered tap water, and sometimes worse. Testing by McGill University found microplastics in major bottled water brands sold in Canada, and Aquafina was among those tested. While it hasn't faced major contamination scandals in Canada specifically, Aquafina was criticized by the Environmental Working Group for a lack of transparency for failing to disclose its water quality reports on its label. Its environmental impact is also significant thanks to its single-use PET bottles. If you're paying for a premium bottled water experience in Canada, Aquafina falls short. You're spending money on filtered tap water while contributing to plastic waste, all while Canadian municipalities offer excellent tap water for pennies. 4. Poland Spring Blue Triton. Poland Spring, a leading bottled water brand available in eastern Canada, has been mired in a class action lawsuit since 2017 over allegations of fraudulent sourcing. The lawsuit claims that not one drop of the billions of gallons of Poland Spring water sold actually comes from a natural spring as advertised. According to the plaintiffs, the original Poland Spring in Maine ran dry decades ago, and the water the company sells is just common groundwater that has been pumped, bottled, and slapped with a 100% natural spring water label. Nestlé, the previous owner, repeatedly tried to have the case dismissed, arguing that its product meets the FDA's definition of spring water and is licensed by state regulators. However, in late 2024, a federal judge refused to dismiss the suit, allowing it to move forward to determine whether Poland Spring is in fact authentic spring water. Alongside this are accusations that the company uses man-made springs and surface water instead of a natural underground source. The brand is now owned by Blue Triton, formerly Nestlé Waters North America, a company that has faced intense criticism across North America for its water extraction practices. For Canadian consumers purchasing Poland Spring, particularly in Ontario and Quebec where it's distributed, this lawsuit raises serious questions about whether they're actually getting spring water or just glorified groundwater with misleading labeling. Poland Spring is a classic example of idyllic marketing that may not reflect reality. 5. Deer Park Blue Triton. Deer Park, another Blue Triton spring water brand available in Ontario and Quebec, was flagged for contamination with forever chemicals in a 2020 investigation by Consumer Reports. After testing 47 brands of bottled water, CR found that most contained some level of PFAS. Deer Park was one of the few non-carbonated waters with a total PFAS concentration above 1 part per trillion, a common health-based benchmark recommended by many scientists and the Environmental Working Group. Specifically, the sample of Deer Park measured approximately 1.21 ppt. While this level is below newer regulatory limits, it's significantly higher than the stricter guidelines advocated by health and environmental groups. The presence of any PFAS, chemicals that are notoriously persistent and accumulate in the body, raises serious questions about the integrity of Deer Park's water source or its bottling process. Anecdotally, Canadian consumers sometimes complain that Deer Park has a plastic or slightly swampy taste, which could be attributed to natural mineral content or the bottle itself. The brand heavily markets its 100% natural spring water, but the detection of PFAS suggests potential contamination from industrial pollution or packaging issues. Blue Triton's troubled history in Canada, including the community battles in Wellington County, Ontario, makes this brand particularly concerning. Anyone concerned about forever chemicals should consider avoiding this brand until the company provides more transparent and recent testing results specifically for Canadian distribution. 6. Eska. Eska, a premium bottled water brand from Quebec, was exposed in a shocking 2018 CBC Marketplace investigation that tested major Canadian bottled water brands for microplastics. What makes Eska's case particularly alarming is that microplastics were found even in its glass bottles, albeit at lower levels than plastic bottles. This discovery by researchers at McGill University's Biocolloids and Surfaces Laboratory revealed something disturbing. As lead researcher Nathalie Tufengchi explained, the fact that plastic particles are present in glass bottles suggests the contamination isn't just coming from the bottle itself or the cap. It could be coming from the environment where the bottling process takes place. This means the pristine image Eska cultivates with its premium pricing and Quebec spring water marketing is fundamentally compromised. If microplastics are getting into glass bottles, the entire bottling facility environment is contaminated. Eska, along with other Canadian brands, markets itself with labels and promotions that suggest purity, but the McGill testing proved otherwise. The Canadian Bottled Water Association defended the industry by claiming the testing method had limitations, but they couldn't dispute the core finding that microplastics were present. For Canadian consumers paying premium prices for Eska, particularly those choosing glass bottles specifically to avoid plastic contamination, this revelation is a devastating betrayal of trust. The purity promise is broken at the source. 7. Naya. Naya, another major Canadian bottled water brand, was included in the same damning McGill University study that exposed microplastic contamination across the industry. According to Euromonitor International, Naya, along with other tested brands, had combined Canadian sales of more than $1 billion in water last year. Despite marketing their products with labels and promotions suggesting purity, microplastics were found in Naya bottles. The company's response to CBC Marketplace, delivered through the Canadian Bottled Water Association, was to claim the testing method had limitations and insist that consumers can remain confident that bottled water products are safe. This defensive response, rather than transparency about the contamination and steps to fix it, reveals an industry more concerned with protecting profits than consumer health. What makes Naya's contamination particularly troubling for Canadian families is that this is a domestically produced brand. Canadians often assume that buying Canadian means higher quality and safety standards. The presence of microplastics in Naya demonstrates that even homegrown brands are failing basic purity tests. The long-term health effects of ingesting microplastics aren't fully understood, but laboratory studies on animals have shown liver toxicity, initial stages of tumor formation, and endocrine system disruption. Canadian families deserve better than a product that markets purity while delivering plastic particles with every sip. 8. Fiji Water. Fiji Water, the premium bottled water imported from the island nation of Fiji and widely available across Canada, is famous for its marketing of South Pacific purity. But its reality is riddled with controversy. Regarding its purity, Fiji was famously humbled in a showdown with Cleveland's tap water. After the company ran an ad mocking Cleveland's water, the city's officials decided to test Fiji's product. Their findings were shocking. Fiji Water contained 6.31 micrograms per liter of arsenic, while Cleveland's own tap water had none. Although this level was still below regulatory limits, the hypocrisy shattered Fiji's pristine image. The brand's environmental and ethical record is just as troubling for Canadian consumers. Fiji has been heavily criticized for the enormous carbon footprint created by shipping its water halfway around the world to Canada. Even more ironically, while the company exports water for immense profit, native Fijians have at times struggled with a lack of access to clean drinking water, sparking accusations of resource injustice. This mirrors concerns Canadians have about water being extracted from indigenous communities that lack clean water. Fiji's advertising uses poetic language about rain filtered through volcanic rock for hundreds of years, but critics call this a marketing myth. International tests have also detected microplastics in Fiji watershed from the bottle itself. While Fiji has a smooth, soft taste due to its high silica content, its premium price tag, arsenic content, and damaging environmental reputation land it firmly on the list of brands Canadians should avoid. 9. Topo Chico Coca-Cola. Topo Chico, the cult favorite sparkling mineral water from Mexico owned by Coca-Cola and increasingly popular in Canadian urban markets, landed on the blacklist due to concerning levels of PFAS contamination despite recent improvements. Initial testing revealed that Topo Chico contained a total PFAS level of 9.76 ppt, the highest of any sparkling beverage tested by Consumer Reports. This figure set off alarm bells as it was far above the health advisory limits recommended by scientists. In response to the backlash, Coca-Cola acknowledged the issue and committed to enhanced filtration. By 2021, a retest showed the PFAS levels had been reduced to 3.9 ppt. While this is an improvement, 3.9 ppt is still nearly 4 times higher than the 1 ppt benchmark for safety recommended by health experts, meaning the product is not yet truly clean. This has been a major disappointment for Topo Chico's loyal Canadian fans who are drawn to its signature taste and high carbonation. The brand is also facing legal threats, as consumer groups have considered suing over the failure to warn customers about the presence of forever chemicals. Environmentally, Topo Chico's heavy glass bottles are shipped long distances from Mexico to Canada, creating a significant carbon footprint. Although Coca-Cola vows to continue lowering PFAS levels, for now, Topo Chico remains a mineral water that health-conscious Canadians should avoid. The lesson: even a beloved historic brand can hide harmful contaminants. 10. Perrier, Nestlé, Blue Triton. Perrier, the iconic French sparkling mineral water owned by Nestlé and now Blue Triton, is widely available across Canada in grocery stores and restaurants. Despite its premium positioning and long history, Perrier was among the carbonated waters found to contain PFAS in Consumer Reports testing. As a product of Nestlé Waters, which became Blue Triton, Perrier carries the baggage of one of the most controversial water companies in Canadian history. The PFAS detection, while the company claims recent testing shows undetectable levels, raises questions about source water contamination. For Canadian consumers paying premium prices for imported French mineral water, the presence of forever chemicals is unacceptable. The brand markets itself as naturally sparkling, sourced from a spring in Verges in southern France. But if industrial PFAS chemicals have infiltrated this supposedly pristine source, the natural purity claim falls apart. What's particularly frustrating for Canadians is that Blue Triton, after extracting hundreds of millions of litres from Canadian aquifers and facing years of community opposition, now sells us expensive imported water that contains PFAS contamination. Canadian consumers are essentially paying premium prices twice, first through the exploitation of our water resources, and second by purchasing contaminated imported water. Perrier's reputation as a sophisticated choice doesn't hold up under scientific scrutiny. This is yet another example of premium pricing failing to guarantee premium purity. If you're still watching and finding these details valuable, I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave the number 10 inches the comments below, just to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you'll consider subscribing and ringing that bell so you don't miss a thing. Your support is what allows us to keep creating helpful content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's get back to it. 11. San Pellegrino, Nestlé. San Pellegrino, the premium Italian sparkling mineral water owned by Nestlé and ubiquitous in Canadian restaurants and stores, also tested positive for PFAS contamination. A 2020 study by Consumer Reports found that San Pellegrino contained detectable levels of PFAS at 0.31 parts per trillion. At the time, this was significantly below health advisory levels. However, with stricter regulations emerging, including Health Canada's 2024 guideline of 30 NGL for combined PFAS compounds, any detection of these forever chemicals in a supposedly pure natural mineral water is concerning. The very presence of industrial chemicals in a naturally sourced mineral water raises serious questions about the purity of its source in the Italian Alps. San Pellegrino markets itself as a sophisticated choice, sourced from natural springs and offering unique mineral content. Canadian restaurants charge premium prices for this imported sparkling water, positioning it as a healthier alternative to soft drinks. But if PFAS chemicals have contaminated the source, that health halo disappears. For Canadian consumers, this represents another betrayal. We're paying import prices, shipping costs, and premium markups for water that contains man-made forever chemicals. The sophisticated European image doesn't protect against industrial contamination. San Pellegrino's parent company, Nestlé, has a particularly troubled history in Canada, making this brand even more problematic. When you can get PFAS-free sparkling water from Canadian sources or simply carbonate your own filtered tap water, paying premium prices for contaminated imports makes no sense. 12. La Croix. La Croix, the colorful canned sparkling water that built an empire on being the innocent, healthy alternative to sugary sodas, is available across Canada. With no calories, no sweeteners, and no sodium, its sales pitch is all about purity and natural essences. That's why reports of PFAS being detected at 1.16 parts per trillion in the water were so damaging to its image. While the company has stated that the levels are below regulatory limits, for a brand whose entire appeal is its perceived healthfulness and simplicity, the presence of any amount of a synthetic forever chemical is a tough pill for health-conscious Canadian consumers to swallow. La Croix markets itself as an innocent pleasure, a guilt-free indulgence. Canadian consumers, particularly those trying to reduce sugar intake or avoid artificial ingredients, embrace the brand as a healthy hydration option. The discovery of PFAS contamination shattered that trust. These are the same forever chemicals that persist in the environment and human body indefinitely, linked to various health concerns. For Canadians who switch from tap water or other beverages specifically because they believed La Croix was purer and healthier, this revelation feels like a betrayal. The premium price charged for La Croix in Canadian stores, often 2 to 3 times the cost of store-brand sparkling water, now seems like a scam. You're paying extra for colorful marketing and synthetic chemical contamination. Canadian consumers deserve transparency about what's actually in their supposedly pure sparkling water. 13. Canada Dry Sparkling Water. Canada Dry Sparkling Water, bearing the proud Canadian name despite being owned by Keurig Dr Pepper, was among the carbonated waters found to contain PFAS above the 1 part per trillion threshold in Consumer Reports testing. The irony is devastating. A brand that literally has Canada in its name, that Canadians have trusted for generations, contains forever chemicals. While Canada Dry is best known for its ginger ale, the company's sparkling water line was supposed to offer a pure, unsweetened hydration option. Instead, it delivers PFAS contamination. The company's response, like others, was to claim that levels were well below current standards or requirements, but this misses the point entirely. Canadians don't want any PFAS in their water, regardless of whether it technically meets current regulatory minimums. The presence of these chemicals suggests either source water contamination or issues in the bottling process. For Canadian consumers, this is particularly frustrating because Canada Dry trades on Canadian identity and trust. We expect better from a brand bearing our nation's name. The fact that the company is actually American-owned under Keurig Dr Pepper makes the Canadian branding feel exploitative. It's possible that the process of infusing carbonation into flat water could enhance the concentration of PFAS, as some researchers have suggested. Regardless of the mechanism, Canada Dry Sparkling Water represents another failure of the bottled water industry to deliver on its fundamental promise of purity. Canadian consumers should demand better. 14. Starkey Spring Water, Whole Foods. Starkey Spring Water, Whole Foods private label natural mineral water sold in Canadian Whole Foods locations, has come under heavy fire for containing unsafe levels of arsenic. Testing by Consumer Reports revealed that Starkey water contains arsenic levels approaching 10 parts per billion, pushing right up against the federal limit. In retesting, arsenic levels came in at 9.53 parts per billion, just under the legal maximum. While Health Canada and the FDA's maximum allowable level for bottled water is 10 parts per billion, many health experts and organizations like the Environmental Working Group recommend that a truly safe level should be below 3 parts per billion. Starkey's arsenic level is more than 3 times this recommended safe threshold. These findings led Whole Foods to temporarily pull the product from shelves for retesting. Starkey's marketing as a pure premium spring water was widely viewed as misleading, as arsenic is a toxic substance linked to cancer and reproductive problems. Although no official recall was issued by Canadian health authorities, Starkey's reputation suffered a major blow with consumers. For Canadian shoppers who specifically go to Whole Foods expecting higher standards and premium quality, finding dangerous arsenic levels in the store's own brand water is a shocking betrayal. Whole Foods charges premium prices, cultivates an image of health consciousness, and positions itself as more trustworthy than conventional supermarkets. Yet their private label water contains arsenic at levels health experts consider dangerous. It's a stark reminder that even products labeled natural spring water from premium retailers can contain harmful contaminants if quality control is lacking. 15. Ice River Springs. Ice River Springs, the Ontario-based Canadian company that purchased Nestlé's Pure Life business in 2022, now operates the controversial water extraction sites that communities fought against for nearly 2 decades. While Ice River Springs markets itself as eco-friendly, using 100% recycled plastic bottles and positioning itself as a more responsible Canadian alternative to Nestlé, it has inherited the same problematic water extraction operations. The company continues to draw water from sources in Wellington County, Ontario, and Hope, British Columbia, the very sites that sparked massive community opposition. Ice River Springs runs its own recycling operation and promotes sustainability, which is genuinely positive. However, the fundamental issue remains: massive commercial extraction of groundwater that local communities argue should remain a public resource. Wellington Water Watchers, the group that fought Nestlé for 17 years, has stated they're glad Nestlé is gone but remain vigilant until the entire operation is wrapped up. The concern isn't just about plastic bottles or recycling, it's about whether any company, regardless of nationality or environmental messaging, should be extracting hundreds of millions of litres annually from Canadian aquifers for profit. For Canadian consumers, Ice River Springs represents a complicated choice. It's Canadian-owned, more environmentally conscious than its predecessor, and hasn't faced the same contamination scandals. However, it perpetuates the bottled water industry's exploitation of public water resources. Communities near extraction sites continue to raise concerns about aquifer depletion, while Indigenous communities in other parts of Canada lack access to clean drinking water. So, there you have it, 15 bottled water brands you should probably avoid. Now, as promised, here are some practical tips to help you choose a safer option. Prioritize transparency. Opt for brands that are open about their quality. Look for companies that provide annual water quality reports and clearly state their water source and purification methods on the label. Transparency empowers you to know exactly what you're drinking. Canadian companies should disclose testing results for PFAS, microplastics, and heavy metals. Look up test results before you buy. Do a quick search for data from reputable sources like Consumer Reports, Environmental Working Group, or CBC Marketplace investigations. Check for information on levels of heavy metals, microplastics, PFAS, or bacteria in the brand you're considering. Steer clear of any brand that has been flagged for harmful contaminants like those on this list. For Canadian-specific testing, search for McGill University studies and Health Canada advisories. Consider packaging and sourcing. If you're concerned about microplastics, consider water sold in glass bottles or cartons from trusted companies. Though remember, even glass bottles can contain contamination from the bottling facility. Prioritizing locally sourced Canadian water can reduce environmental impact from long-distance shipping. Some smaller Canadian spring water operations provide better transparency than major brands. Weigh purified water versus spring water. Purified water, which often starts as tap water, is typically filtered to remove nearly all impurities, but it also lacks beneficial minerals. Natural spring water often has better taste due to its mineral content, but it's crucial to ensure those mineral levels are safe and not accompanied by heavy metals or PFAS. Avoid spring water from regions known for geological arsenic contamination or industrial PFAS pollution. Don't be fooled by marketing hype. Terms like alkaline, ionized, raw water, oxygenated, or detox are usually more about marketing than real health benefits. Rely on scientific test results, not on buzzwords. Canadian companies are just as guilty of misleading marketing as international brands. The best alternative, your tap. If your local tap water is safe, and in most Canadian cities it is, using a home filtration system is often the best choice for your health, your wallet, and the planet. You can invest in a quality filter like reverse osmosis or activated carbon system and carry a reusable bottle. Municipal tap water in Canada is often subject to more frequent and rigorous quality testing than bottled water. Cities like Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, and Calgary have excellent tap water that undergoes constant monitoring. Ultimately, filtering your own tap water is a smart trend that reduces plastic waste and helps you avoid the many pitfalls of the bottled water industry. The bottled water market isn't always as clean and pure as its marketing suggests. When buying bottled water, it's essential to do your research, prioritizing brands that are transparent and have a proven track record of quality. Your health and the environment are better protected when you become an informed consumer. We hope these tips help you choose a safe and reliable source of water. Stay hydrated.